about your self-awareness. And you'll notice, and I know a lot of you know this, if you've been with me for a while. If you haven't, hi, I'm Lori. How are you? But I'm always going to put things back on you, right? Like I always put the ball in your court. Listen, I'm not saying that relationships aren't important. My God, they are. That's a huge part of human beings, like interactions. That's what we require as humans. But none of that really matters until you are solid and you have your own self-awareness. And with self-awareness is the emotional maturity. I did a podcast on that. So go back and listen on my podcast on emotional maturity, right? Because most of us are emotionally immature, right? Because we go into survival mode. Emotional maturity, you're not just born with it. You have to cultivate it. And so emotional maturity, a big piece of that is your self-awareness. Let me give you an example of what I mean. And here's the thing. To be self-aware isn't to be like, they're not self-aware. Stop pointing fingers. Stop deflecting. Stop projecting your stuff. That's the opposite of self-awareness. Okay. Be self-aware enough now in the beginning phases to know that you're doing it without judgment. I will never allow you. That's right. I'm going to pull some rank here. I will never allow you to beat yourself up. I will never allow you to say, well, I should know better. I'll never allow you to do that because you didn't get here overnight. You're not going to unget here overnight, right? It's not going to flip a switch, but be aware when you have awareness, like, ooh, I'm doing those actions again. Yikes. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm aware of it. You got to be aware of it. You have to also put down your ego. If you're going to constantly sit in a blame game of other people, you're not self-aware. Well, I'm self-aware to know that. No. Self-awareness is not defensive. Self-awareness is like, I don't like what that person's wearing. I'm allowed to think that. I do not have to voice that. I mean, unless somebody says, hey, do you like what I'm wearing? But I mean, like, everybody, the Karenicity of life where everybody has an opinion of everything. You don't have to. Emotional maturity is knowing when to just say, it's okay. Like, I don't have to like it, but if that person likes it, rocking with it. If you like it, I love it for you. I don't have to love it. I tell people this all the time. You see people in the world, they're like, I don't believe in same-sex marriage. Well, then you should not get same-sex married. If you don't believe in it, next time some gay person walks up to you and says, hey, how you doing today? Let's get married. You are absolutely allowed to say, no, thank you. Yes, you are. But what you're not allowed to do, and if you have a feeling about it, have a feeling about it. It's not for you to project that on other people. If you don't like what your adult children are doing, because it doesn't align with you, oh well. Be self-aware enough to know you're allowed to feel your feelings, because nobody's feelings are facts. Feelings aren't facts. Thoughts aren't facts. But you're allowed to feel a certain way. Don't just go and try to get people to change who they are for you. Don't get people to, well, I don't like what they're doing, so I need to let them know. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's really not important. Your opinion is really not important to them unless they ask you for it. Right? So, and yes, this even means when you see somebody running into a brick wall, you got to let them hit the brick wall so they can learn their own resilience. But your self-awareness, you have to be self-aware enough to know, like, I'll give you an example. You can also use this to your benefit. Your self-awareness, like you guys know, okay, I've just left the gym, right? Today happens to be a gym day. I know myself. I am the queen of 1,000,001 excuses the first 5 seconds I'm awake, right? I'm the queen of it. I will think of every reason why there's no reason I have to go to the gym today. I can do it. No, I'm not saying like you don't really legitimately feel well. I'm saying like mentally doing that. I'm self-aware enough to know I better lay my stuff out. This stuff was laid out. And it's not like it's across the room. I mean, across the whole house. It's literally in the same room. I need to have no decision fatigue. I need to just get up. It needs to be ready for me. It needs to be prepared. This is the same thing when people do meal planning. Oh, no, I'm not going to feel like cooking, so I'll stop by McDonald's. Every now and again, it's fine. But if you know you're going to do that, then don't complain about it. Be self-aware enough to know this also goes into accountability and self-discipline. And all of those things are the components to your emotional maturity. So when you become self-aware to understand and know what does and does not work for you, that is within your control, then you start changing it. If you know that you're going to be insecure about going somewhere, be aware of it, but don't not go. You know what I mean? So your self-awareness can't be so this person's doing this and I don't like what this person's doing and how they're doing it and all of those things. And you're allowed those things. You're allowed those feelings. You're allowed those thoughts. But stop projecting them onto everybody else. Your insecurities. Be self-aware enough to know that your traumas, A, are not your responsibility. No, healing it 1000% is. So understand that if you're going through hypervigilance, if you're going through insecurities, if you're going through attachment, be self-aware enough to know what it is without judgment. And because you got to be real careful, because that'll go into a victim state. That will go straight into a victim mentality. And you got to be careful of that victim mentality. Okay. Because when you're in that space, you start getting less self-aware and more blamey. And how you know that you're coming out of your self-awareness is when you start saying this person, this person, this person. Now listen, people are not always going to be awesome to you. They're not going to happen. And they're going to have bad actions and negative things, and it's going to affect you negatively. That isn't something that you can control. Now, you can control the role they play in your life. This includes family. This includes spouses. They don't have to stay. Like this is something that you're going to have to get clear in, and you're going to have to be okay with, right? Because unless you allow yourself to say, okay, that's how this person is, stop trying to change them. You can't get mad at someone that you've known for the last 65 years that literally does the exact same thing every time you see them, and you keep getting mad. You're doing that to yourself. You're doing that. They're not. If you know the stove is hot, and every day you walk in and you put your hand on the stove and you burn your hand and you get mad at the stove, that's a you issue. Be self-aware enough to know that you have got to accept when things are not going to change. Some people are just not going to change. Some situations are not going to change. I don't care if you like it or not. But you have to understand people's boundaries, people's way of doing things. These are all integral. Yeah. One of those. They both sound weird, but I know one of them's right. You know what I mean? But I want you to be very, very clear in that, because you need to be very clear that no matter how you want it, it doesn't have to be that way. You can't glom onto people and expect them to be like your life raft. Like that, it can't be that way, right? A person can't be that for you. And the more that you try to like squish them into a box, that's not being self-aware. Now, you might be self-aware you're doing it, but you're not self-aware enough to change it. And that's okay, because you haven't gotten there yet. But I want you to understand that you and solely you are responsible for your happiness. You and solely you are responsible for healing your trauma. I didn't say you had to do that part by yourself, but it's your responsibility to get the help, your responsibility to do the work, your responsibility to be consistent. So much of your life is your responsibility. And the more that you start focusing on what people aren't doing and what they're wearing and how you don't like, and people do, it's the craziest thing to me, because people do that with strangers. Like they start judging people and strangers. I'm like, what? Stay in your lane. Why is the Karenicity coming out? Why are we all being Karens now? If you don't like it, don't do it. If you don't like it, don't rock with it. If somebody's behavior is not what is in alignment with you, you don't have to deal with them. It's okay. But why? And you can say, I don't like that. That's fine. But you don't need to voice it. You don't need to make 975 comments on social media. I never understood that. If you don't like something that somebody's posting, do this. Watch. You don't have to. Everything doesn't require your feedback on. Especially if it's negative. You can give positive feedback all day long. That's fine. It's not required, but it's nice. So you got to be clear in that, because you're trying to find some level of worth or some level of, justification and all of these things. And I'm valid, and you're valid. Calm down. Pump your brakes. Just because you bark the loudest doesn't mean anything. Just because you overtalk people the louder, I don't mean from an ADHD place, doesn't matter. So be self-aware that you have your own insecurities that you still need to heal. Be self-aware to know that every time you're judging somebody, it's something within yourself that you're not addressing. And that is a fact. That is a psychologically proven fact. I studied human brain, I did study human brain, not like let me operate on it, but like why we do what we do. So it's proven. You keep deflecting. Own your stuff. Be self-aware. It's okay to not like something or what somebody's doing and just be quiet and distance. It's okay. It's all right. And there's so much power and so much peace in it. But the key to that is your self-awareness. So be gentle and kind with yourself as you go on this journey. But it's such an important part of your emotional maturity.